It's going at you. Hey, this is Chad Ever Broshears. I am the host of the Maturity Project, Sir Chad Ever Broshears to some. Yeah. So anyway, why not be playful and enjoy? This is the interesting thing, and I think it's an interesting thing for myself about to trade about myself is it excites me whenever I find work. Like I get really excited when I find out there's opportunities. And what opportunities look like is not going and buying a lottery ticket. Sure, that's a default opportunity for a lot of people in their mind, but it's not going to come true for nearly any of them that pay for a lottery ticket. The big payoff, it's incredibly uncommon. I mean, it's done daily, and it's done very, very consistently and regularly, but to the individual, it is very unlikely you'll win. So, but when I say opportunity, I'm talking about whenever work is present, obvious, and it's there. And I don't just mean the physical. See, I teach, so this is more of the gray matter management. As I teach this thing, it's called gray matter management. And what it is what I'm actually referring to. And that is when you're doing work, when you're doing anything in life, really, you can put it in the parameters of work because that's how I teach it in the business sense. But in reality, it's the entirety of when we have downtime and whenever we have an opportunity to focus on things and, or to let our mind adrift. What can we do with that drifting mind and how can we cultivate something out of it versus just allowing it to daydream or fantasize and not really take us someplace? And you can turn it into a professional fantasy instead of what, most people default to whenever I say fantasy. But fantasizing is just simply projecting an idea into the future about the current timelines or even future timeline that is exciting enough to transport you from where you currently are into a different place. You just mentally get so engaged with the idea that it turns into something that's near real to you. That's fantasizing. So anyway, how do you fill in that void? You can do a career fantasy, which is preferable because I do increase the focus on the cultures of businesses that'll get you to give a better controllable environment for growth than to allow the culture to be developed by someone else, which is if you have customer facing, then it'll be by the customers. If you don't put one together, it's not your culture, it's housed in your business though. Now, you also are yourself a part of the culture of the bigger whole when it comes to society, and what your role is for the society is benefited by how you can actually create who you are versus be a part of just the masses. So, all right, back to it. Gray matter management is something that I teach in that way because it gives you a knowledgeable way of approaching this. It's not really dead spaces. It's just, it's not, whatever you're doing doesn't require as much mental focus to what you're currently doing because you're well practiced at it or whatever it is. You just don't have to have that much mental force. Your CPU is pretty freed up. Well, what happens in those scenarios is you fill in the void and you do something with it. I'm all fired up and excited because I found a place that is typically something that gets skipped over when people are, dealing with things, especially in the emotional realm, because nobody wants to touch emotions, right? They're like, yeah, whatever. And the only times that people really typically think about doing something with emotions is commonly when it's a negative or undesirable. Get this away from me, get it off me. It's like this, this sticky goo stuff you just try to get away from as fast as possible because you just don't want it. And that's where you can identify something has to do with emotions. But you can mature your emotions when you're on a high as well, when you're excited. And, if you are the person that wins the lottery ticket, if you really allow yourself to be genuinely present and not into the fantasy of what comes with that, then the experience of being incredibly excited becomes something that you're maturing. You're getting exposure to it, and then you know what it's really like to be that person that does get that kind of win, and you can relate to those people a lot better than to project the idea of relation into that by going, it must be nice when you win, versus I have one, I know what it's like. So that's maturing aspects of it. You can do it through everything. I've found my own that is something that I never even really put a lot of time or thought into, is because I thought that there was already a depth of awareness that I was so into that I didn't need to necessarily explore more. And it's not even so much a conscious decision that you don't need to explore more. It's there's other things that need your attention now that you've had this depth of awareness, that these other areas do need the attention. Go there, think there, put your efforts over there. Simple process. It's just like this continuation of cycling around the sun, if you will, but getting better every single time you cycle through. So you're just maturing. Also in Buddhism, they refer to, every time you have a life, you're reincarnated until you don't need to be reincarnated anymore because you've reached being the Buddha, which is referred to as supreme being, if you will, but basically the completion of life. So no more need to recycle or to reincarnate. So that's their belief system, but still, point of it is every time you go through these cycles of these emotions and or every other experience that we have, we develop a deeper, better, more beneficial understanding and experience to create tools and things that can help you move through those things with more proficiency and effectiveness. So those are the things that you can really get out of it when you stop getting too attached to one thing or feel like work is done, you don't need to do anymore. Now, that's another thing, is a destination development. You don't want to be on a destination development in the sense of that's your timeline, that's your thing, and timelines are fine, but where you're supposed to end up. When you first start, your depth of awareness about what it's like to be mature there, to achieve that goal, often is not what you actually experience when you get there. And a lot of the times, we don't even realize when we've achieved that thing. But if you are in the camp where you have recognized that you have achieved it, that's not when you stop. It actually, in my experience, can be painful to stop at that point because you have a new skill and something that gives you the ability to navigate through that type of situation, that in the future, when it happens again, you can do it with more efficiency, which gives you a sense of joy. Even if it's in a non-joyful space, it's something that you can take value from and you can give credit to your efforts of growth because you've gone through enough that the last time you didn't perform as well. You weren't able to accomplish as much or to stay as stable or whatever the measurement is that gives you that sensation of achievement. The thing that you have that's measurable enough to realize that it is different and that you've gotten better. So for me, it's that I found something that I thought was well established and well developed. And I'm like, oh my God, there is so much more opportunity right here in front of me. There's so much more value with what I actually have right now. I can do something with this. So I'm excited. I'm having a good time with it. I encourage people to do that. Like, it's like when you think you've got there, be excited about the journey. Like, hell yeah, man, I've got there, and guess what? I just found out I actually just introduced myself to it. I'm not an expert. I'm not the best there is at this. I had no idea that you could actually go further than where I was at. So it's shedding light on ignorance, which, again, ignorance isn't a bad thing, and people that like to qualify that as a negative don't fully grasp the full context, the values of what ignorance is. But anyway, use it as more of the scarlet letter for a lot of people, unfortunately. But back to the point, get excited about stuff. The more you put that kind of excitement and love and joy and opportunity, by the way, love is not just this, thing, right? You got to have a definition for what the hell you mean by it. Same with everything that we say. That's how miscommunication occurs, is because we use the exact same words, but yet we have different definitions and even contextual definitions. What do we actually intend to mean, and what are we trying to get others to infer if we actually have that depth of awareness? So it's the influence game, if you will. How do you actually get to communicate? So know the words, know the values, and communicate that, especially with people that are important to you. Communicate with them that you have specific terminology and specific definitions. It helps communication significantly. If you give a real definition for love, it's no longer categorical and all these things fit in under the umbrella of it. That's why you see so many relationship issues, is because people don't have a definition for it. They just do. They don't even know. They just do. And then they blame each other for not meeting each other's needs, because there's never really been a roadmap to get to those needs. And it's not up to the other person to figure out your roadmap. You should know it. You should learn it. You should be the person that masters that terrain. Don't expect somebody else to master the terrain when you don't even have it down. That's very hard to do, but a lot of relationships have that. You should love me no matter what. Okay, fantastic. Let's define what that is first. Well, you should do this for me. Okay, where are the shoulds coming from, and what exactly are those needs that these shoulds are attached to? We got to look deeper to have that depth of understanding so we can have a cohesive and desirable relationship versus, okay, well, we have these specific traits, these specific values, and we have these particular consequences and responsibilities that have associated with this particular relationship. But I don't know anything about what actually brings you to the sense of satisfaction about that relationship being what it is. All I know is that you expect X, Y, and Z, and you condition me to understand that because you take away some affinity or some emotional values or some sort of support or something from me when I don't produce that particular outcome. So I've figured it out. It's like learning to read with Braille, but you really don't have to. So then it's like most people won't. And they don't, because if you don't need Braille, it's very unlikely you're going to use it. Why learn it, right? Unless, of course, you lose your sight. So, but it's available. We can all learn Braille right now. It's out there. It's available. We're not, because it doesn't have that high level of utility for us. So, if you want to create something greater, consider that what you're going through right now has more depth to it. Consider that you can develop and become addicted to development by simply facing the thing that you don't want to deal with, and or the thing that you feel inflicted by. It's the circumstances of life, so that you can flip that script and turn it into life happens because of you versus life happens to you. So you get there by working on it, and by working on yourself and putting in the work and constantly putting in the effort necessary to be that person that grows. And it is not fun. It is not always fun. It's not always comfortable, but the outcome is so much better. The depth of knowing you reflects that into how you understand other people. So, all right, that's it for today. Just remember that there's always more depth. Don't get focused on the destination, but get more focused on the journey, as cliche as that has to be. But just, if you fall in love with developing, and don't be in love with, which is the common, developed, because people are like, I want to be as rich as Jeff Bezos. So let's develop based off a significant amount of traits and opportunities, and combined with his abilities that you have traits and abilities, and then you have opportunity. And all of those things turned up. Now you can create a lot more opportunities by investing in your traits and your abilities. Opportunities are to show up. If opportunities show up once in a lifetime, then what the heck are you doing? Or what does it have to be, the lottery winning opportunity? That's the only thing you'll qualify? If you shift around a little bit, man, it's going to really start rocking your world, because you're just going to start taking these steps towards whatever the heck it is that you want to experience. And then learn that what you wanted to experience may not have the depth of what you actually wanted, but you had to get there to find out. It's fantastic. You just have to take the chance. I have very high risk tolerance. So I can go through a lot, and I openly put myself through a lot to develop. But that's also because I have a very high tolerance to risk. But that's also because I have such an adaptable skill set. Like, I adapt incredibly well to circumstances in the environment. So I have no lack of abilities and being able to adapt. So that gives me the privilege of having a higher risk tolerance. Some people are not very adaptive, and they typically will have very low tolerance to risk. You have to be open to being, it may not work out, but that, if it doesn't work out, the lesson's there. Just pay attention to it versus being struck by and immobilized by or running from the results of it. That can be the undesirable experience. So, anyway, all right, that's it. Again, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. This is the Maturity Project. I hope that you take something from this, and don't forget to like and share the video. Do share the video with people in your life that you'd like to start a conversation with. It could potentially open up doorways for you. If it's a tough one to start, share that nasty, or watch. Yeah, it's so much easier to say, "Hey, did you watch that?" than it is to say, "Hey, so I want to talk to you about something." Most people think it's easier to follow up with, "Hey, did you watch that? What's your thoughts?" It's an easy icebreaker for those conversations. So anyway, explore into yourself, put some comments in the comment section. If you find something out of this video that you really do appreciate and you enjoy, or if you've taken on the exercise of sharing the video and working through some new conversations with people, let me know what your thoughts are. Put it in the comment section. All right, all that great stuff. I will catch you on the next one.